Well, it is like nothing I have seen in the past, but it is bringing everything I love together. So this idea of Bitcoin being a global monetary system, that fits right into my economics. Given what we're seeing in the private sector in the U.S. And hearing from state treasurers who we're working with, the movement is already started. Now, for example, the state of Wisconsin, I believe, has put a number of they're not self-custodying Bitcoin or anything, but they have put some of the spot ETFs in their pension plans, and that to me speaks loudly. We're also seeing bond funds. I wouldn't think they'd be the first to embrace Bitcoin. I think of bonds in a different way, but they've been in a world of hurt recently because of Fed policy. And so bond managers are starting to diversify into Bitcoin. There was one very visible one, I've forgotten the name, but the 13F filings came out, and we're beginning to see, actually, it was very interesting, for every manager that added gold in the last quarter, 10 added Bitcoin. So both of them through ETFs for the most part. That was illuminating.
Forget BlackRock, Fidelity, and the largest institutions in the world. Bitcoin ETFs have already set the stage for major institutional investments in Bitcoin. What's coming next for Bitcoin is even more groundbreaking. State treasuries, like Wisconsin, and nations such as El Salvador adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. This is the latest insight from ARK Invests Cathie Wood. Earlier this year, Cathie Wood and ARK Invest released research on Bitcoin's potential impact on institutional portfolios. They found that adding Bitcoin could increase returns while reducing risk. This aligns with modern portfolio theory, which shows that combining uncorrelated assets can enhance returns and decrease risk. Bitcoin's lack of correlation with other assets makes it ideal for diversifying portfolios. ARK Invest projects that Bitcoin could reach $2.3 million per coin if institutions allocate the optimal amount to it. In her latest interview, Cathie Wood explained that this logic makes Bitcoin inevitable not only for institutions but also for states and nations.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
Well, it is like nothing I have seen in the past, but it is bringing everything I love together. So this idea of Bitcoin being a global monetary system, that fits right into my economics. Art Laffer and I have he's been so excited about this since we did our first white paper in collaboration with him in 2015. He's become so excited about it that he just joined me in El Salvador to meet with President Bukele to advocate for not only help. He doesn't need any help on the Bitcoin side of it, but on the economic side, you get economic reform, educational reform, Bitcoin and AI, working together, converging, and you have an explosive opportunity there. So, but global monetary system. So it is that Bitcoin, technology, the layer of the internet that really developers forgot in the early 90s because they had no idea that commerce, financial services, what have you, would take place on it. And then a new asset class, 3-in-1. There's never been anything like this. I think that President Bukele is leading what I believe will be a movement by more enlightened leaders in emerging markets who are trying to break from the past and, the horrible cyclical and hugely cyclical booms and busts, and especially devaluations, which is a very relevant topic today. I'm shocked to see the Nigerian naira plummeting 50-60% over the last year or so. The Egyptian pound dropping 40% in March. I mean, think about how crushing that is to purchasing power and wealth of individuals. And so Bitcoin, and I know I don't have to tell this community, really is an insurance policy against what that is, which we believe it's confiscation of wealth. So I think it's becoming more and more relevant. The dollar's been going up. The dollar is up a lot in the last 10, 12 years relative to most currencies. I don't think many people understand how much it is up. And that is, debilitating to some of these emerging markets. And so, Bitcoin couldn't come around at a better time. If you have an internet connection and a smartphone, you have access to this insurance policy. And I think more and more individuals are going to take advantage of it. And the smart leaders in these countries are going to put a Bitcoin on their balance sheets because one of the devastating consequences of reserves running out is the IMF comes in and does all the wrong things. It raises tax rates. It cuts spending at a time when countries are already reeling. It's a failed strategy that they, it is their go-to. And I don't understand. If I were a leader in an emerging market, and I think even El Salvador is looking for funds from the IMF. But if I were a leader in an emerging market, I'd say, okay, well, this really doesn't work, in terms of moving countries in a healthy way out of distress. It does longer term. If you give them money and control everything, then, something will happen, something will change, but not the right things. It's not a market-driven approach. Given what we're seeing in the private sector in the U.S. And hearing from state treasurers who we're working with, the movement is already started. Now, for example, the state of Wisconsin, I believe, has put a number of, they're not self-custodying Bitcoin or anything, but they have put some of the spot ETFs in their pension plans. And, that to me speaks loudly. We're also seeing bond funds. I wouldn't think they'd be the first to embrace Bitcoin. I think of bonds in a different way, but they've been in a world of hurt recently because of Fed policy. And so bond managers are starting to diversify into Bitcoin. There was one very visible one, I've forgotten the name, but the 13F filings came out, and we're beginning to see, actually, it was very interesting, for every manager that added gold in the last quarter, 10 added Bitcoin. So both of them through ETFs for the most part. That was illuminating. That was illuminating because we're at such an early stage of institutional involvement with Bitcoin as opposed to gold. And I also think, I'd like to think that our study, as we were trying to reach institutional investors, our study basically shows that because Bitcoin has such a low correlation to other financial assets, that and because we believe it is a new asset class, that any institutional investor, now that the SEC has given this wrapper, at least the ETF, the green light to hold Bitcoin, every institution has to consider it, because it's now a matter of, okay, what's your competition doing? If when there's a new asset class that has a low correlation of returns to other assets, what that usually means is, if you add to your existing portfolio a position in Bitcoin, that over time your return per unit of risk is going to be higher than the competition. So it will become a competitive dynamic out there. This, yes, the odds of higher risk-adjusted returns for a given portfolio, if you allocate a position to Bitcoin, that resonates. Mm-hmm. That resonates. I mean, in the early days, our first white paper was in 2014, the year we founded ARK, and we were facing ridicule and all kinds of it. I mean, in 10 years, the flip has been amazing, and I do think what's happening as well is what's going on in Washington. So Fit 21, I'm not quite sure if that's the nickname for it, but to have 76 Democrats sign on to that, including Nancy Pelosi, it's like, what? I mean, that has awakened a lot of people to its broader acceptance, instead of this kind of radicalized form of money, which is how people were thinking about it in the old days. Now, new asset class, good for our citizens, freedom, lots of our values. Very interesting. For many people, it's this year is a one-issue election. Mm-hmm. And I think that vote spoke loudly that, okay, there was this dynamic, Democrats against, Republicans for the most part, and now that's changing quickly, so quickly. And I think President Trump saying the things he said recently, but also taking campaign contributions in crypto, trying to reach the community, that's also quite significant. I guess Satoshi really understood this dynamic. I'm kidding. I'm not sure if he or it or they, thought about that. But there is something called in equity markets, actually, it's the first project I ever did when I got into the business. No, this would have been the first more economics, political project I did. Because the first one was about Hong Kong, 1997, but was this 4-year election cycle and how the equity markets trade around the election cycle. And so I pretended that the 4 years were the equivalent of 1 year, and applied seasonal adjustment, the census at the time it was X11, to it to find out the seasonality. And there definitely is, quote unquote, seasonality around the 4-year presidential election cycle.
So, Cathie Wood offers insightful perspectives on the future of Bitcoin. It's evident that institutional interest has only just begun, especially with the possibility of state treasuries and nations incorporating Bitcoin into their balance sheets. This signals a significant shift towards a financial revolution. According to Cathie and ARK Invest projections, Bitcoin could potentially reach $2.3 million per coin if institutions allocate the optimal amount of money to it. This projection isn't mere speculation, it's firmly rooted in modern portfolio theory, demonstrating how adding uncorrelated assets like Bitcoin can enhance returns while reducing risk. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.